Imagine waking on this day, the 2nd of September, 2025, to a world fundamentally changed. In a single night, a planetary fever has taken hold, every last remnant of Earth's ice has vanished, Antarctica is gone, Greenland is gone, Himalaya's glaciers are gone, Andes' glaciers are gone, Alps glaciers are gone. Even the smallest pockets of perennial ice have melted away. What was brilliant white is now dark, exposed rock and soil absorbing the sun's heat. The world sounds different, the silence replaced by the roar of meltwater. Trillions of gallons of water rushing toward the sea, a torrent of unimaginable scale. This is not gentle, it is a cataclysm. The sudden release of fresh water is a shock to the entire global system. The planet feels alien, hostile, remade. Humanity watches, bewildered from satellites. The view is shocking. The most immediate and devastating consequence of this great melt is the rise of the sea. With all the planet's ice now returned to the oceans, global sea levels surge by an astonishing 70 meters, about 230 feet. This is not a slow creep, it is a rapid, aggressive inundation. Coastlines that have been stable for thousands of years are erased in a single catastrophic event. Entire nations disappear beneath the waves. The Maldives, Tuvalu. The world map is violently and irrevocably redrawn by the ocean. London is swamped by the Thames, the Houses of Parliament, the Tower of London. In the United States, the entire state of Florida is lost. New York City becomes a modern-day Atlantis. The iconic skyline is reduced to a series of strange islands, skyscrapers protruding from a vast saltwater lagoon. Shanghai, Mumbai, Rio de Janeiro, Sydney, countless other metropolises are claimed by the rising tide. The sheer force of the rising water reshapes continents. The Amazon basin, flooded by the Atlantic, becomes a massive saltwater estuary. The Netherlands vanish, Denmark vanishes. Billions of people are now refugees, driven from their ancestral homes with nothing but what they can carry. The loss of Earth's ice caps does more than just raise the seas, it fundamentally breaks our planet's climate system. The polar regions, once vast white mirrors reflecting the sun's energy back into space, are now dark ocean and rock. These newly exposed surfaces absorb solar radiation instead of reflecting it, creating a powerful feedback loop that dramatically accelerates global warming. The planet's air conditioning system has been switched off, and the thermostat is now stuck on high. The engine of our ocean currents, the great conveyor belt driven by the sinking of cold, salty water in the polar regions, grinds to a halt. The Gulf Stream, which brings warmth to northern Europe, falters and dies. This paradoxically plunges regions like the United Kingdom and Scandinavia into a new, colder reality, even as the rest of the planet bakes. Elsewhere, the disruption of ocean currents means weather patterns become completely unreliable. Monsoons that have nourished billions for millennia either fail to arrive or come as unprecedented deluges. The atmosphere, supercharged with heat and moisture from the warmer oceans, becomes a breeding ground for storms of unimaginable power. Hurricanes, or typhoons as they are known in other parts of the world, are no longer categorized on a scale of 1 to 5. They become hypercanes, vast, self-sustaining storms with wind speeds exceeding 300 miles per hour. Tornadoes, once confined to specific regions, now form anywhere, and with terrifying frequency. The sky itself seems to have turned against us, unleashing a constant barrage of extreme weather. In this new world, the very idea of predictable seasons dissolves. The familiar rhythm of spring, summer, autumn, and winter is replaced by a chaotic lurch between unbearable heat waves, torrential rains, and bewildering cold snaps. The sudden collapse of the world's ice triggers a biological catastrophe on a scale not seen since the dinosaurs vanished. The delicate web of life woven over millions of years is torn apart. The first to go are the specialists, those creatures perfectly adapted to a frozen world. Polar bears, with no sea ice from which to hunt seals, vanish almost instantly. Walruses have nowhere to haul out, seals lose their breeding platforms. Numerous species of seabirds that depended on the ice for breeding and resting have nowhere to go. In Antarctica, the entire ecosystem based on krill, which thrived in the cold, collapses. Krill disappear from the water column. Whales, starving, begin to vanish. Penguins starve and decline. Countless other Antarctic marine animals collapse. The extinction is swift, brutal, and absolute. This devastation is not confined to the poles. As the oceans warm and acidify from absorbing immense amounts of carbon dioxide, coral reefs across the globe bleach and die in a matter of weeks. These vibrant underwater cities become barren, white graveyards. The loss of the coral reefs creates a domino effect. leading to the collapse of fisheries that billions rely on for food. In the newly formed saltwater estuaries, such as the flooded Amazon, freshwater species are wiped out by saline intrusion. Forests in temperate regions, unable to cope with the soaring heat and erratic rainfall, wither and die, becoming tinder for colossal wildfires that burn for months. Animals that migrate find their routes blocked by new seas. Animals that migrate find their routes blocked by endless deserts. Those that cannot move fast enough are simply overtaken by the changing climate. The intricate relationships between species, pollinators and flowers, are broken. Predators and prey relationships crumble, leading to cascading failures throughout every ecosystem on the planet. In the wake of the Great Thaw, human society is fractured, thrown into a desperate fight for survival. The old world of nation-states and global cooperation is shattered by the sheer scale of the crisis. With hundreds of millions, perhaps billions of displaced people on the move, the concept of borders becomes meaningless. Climate refugees surge inland, seeking higher ground, seeking fresh water, seeking food. This mass migration leads to unprecedented conflict. Established inland communities are overwhelmed. Resources already scarce, fertile land and drinkable water, become the focus of brutal new wars. The foundations of civilization crumble. Global trade collapses with the loss of ports and coastal infrastructure. Complex supply chains that fed, clothed and powered cities are severed. Without reliable power or the internet, organized governance collapses in many regions. Local, often brutal systems of control arise, held by those who command resources. Technology proves fragile. We return to basic modes of existence. Daily survival depends on finding clean water, scavenging for food, defending against others who want the same. New societies form, shaped by the new geography. Some survivors cluster on newly formed archipelagos, mountain peaks turned islands. Others take to the water, creating floating cities from salvaged debris. These cultures are defined by hardship and ingenuity. Sailing becomes essential. Fishing becomes essential. Water purification becomes essential. Hydroponic farming becomes essential. People live with the constant threat of hypercanes and a broken climate. Collective knowledge, libraries and servers, lies deep underwater and is largely lost. Survivors must rediscover old skills and invent new ones. The psychological toll is immense. Every living person is a witness to the end of the world they knew. They carry trauma of loss, of homes of loved ones, of the beauty of the natural world. Hope becomes rare and precious. Yet the human spirit, forged in adversity, persists. Stories are told of the world before, a paradise of ice and stable seasons. These stories serve as cautionary tales and sources of inspiration. The struggle is no longer for wealth or power, but for something far more fundamental. A future for the next generation on a planet wounded by our past actions. For humanity, the loss of biodiversity is a profound and existential threat. We are not separate from the natural world, we are deeply reliant upon it. There are no more insects to pollinate our crops. The soil, stripped of its living organisms, loses its fertility. The clean water that filtered through healthy forests and wetlands becomes a memory. Scientists can only watch in horror as millennia of evolution are undone. The long-term effects of an ice-free Earth are profound, marking the beginning of a new geological epoch. The planet eventually settles into a new, hotter equilibrium, but it is a state alien to human experience. Without the stabilizing influence of the polar ice caps, the Earth's axial tilt may become more erratic over millennia, leading to even more extreme seasonal variations in the distant future. The chemistry of the oceans is permanently altered. Warm conditions, acidic conditions, low oxygen conditions, jellyfish, algae. The planet will in time find a new balance, but it will be a world far less hospitable to complex life as we know it. Humanity, if it survives, would be forever changed. The remnants of our species would be scattered, living in smaller, more resilient communities adapted to the harsh new reality. Perhaps they would cluster in the few remaining habitable zones, the newly temperate lands of what was once Antarctica, the high-altitude plateaus of the Andes. The technological heights of the 21st century would be the stuff of legend, a lost golden age. Ultimately, the story of an ice-free Earth is the most potent warning imaginable. While the overnight melt is a fantasy, the gradual melt is a terrifying reality. This scenario forces us to confront the true stakes of climate change. The path forward requires a radical shift in our relationship with the planet, moving from exploitation to stewardship, ensuring that the silent, beautiful, and essential ice of our world remains a permanent feature of our home.